In my most recent video, I took a trip to Game. Now, in the video, I didn't actually go into detail as to what was on screen. I was just talking about the fact that Game might get rid of physical games in their store, which would then make the store pretty much useless. But here, I'm just going to talk briefly about the things I didn't cover, and it's sort of series related as well. So, I went to Game strictly just to record the shelves, just to see if they had anything, but also because I knew I was about to make this video. So, I'm going round and I'm thinking to myself, why are Game doing what they're doing? And of course, it's not actually anything to do with Game, so if you haven't seen the video, feel free to go check it out. I threw it together, having read a couple of things, like sort of reports coming out from certain esports companies about Game getting rid of physical. Game have since come out and said that it's a load of nonsense. I mean, take it with a pinch of salt, because of course if they're not ready to have this information put out there yet, then they are of course going to say that it's nonsense. But in a week or two, in fact maybe even already, they might have come out and said, actually, we are getting rid of physical games. But it's not Game that are doing it. It's the Fraser Group that own Game. So they acquired them. They've closed all the physical stores down and they've put them into Sports Directs, which doesn't really make sense because it just doesn't, they don't really go together. Not many people will have a passion for sport and video games. I mean, that's a lie. They will, but you know what I mean? It doesn't really go together. It's not like music and video games go together a little bit better, in my opinion, than sport and video games. But anyway, with that being said, what they're trying to do here is to make it easy for the staff so that they don't have to go and hunt down the games in drawers and such. They don't have to be taught the Sports Direct side of the business and then taught the game side of the business. That's why they got rid of pre-owned, in my opinion, despite the fact that I think pre-owned is probably where they would have been able to make more money. It was more about acquiring the name Game and then having new games on sale, rather than making money out of it from their pre-owned, which doesn't really make any sense, but that's kind of what's happened here. So I'm looking through, and there aren't really many deals to choose from. There were a couple of games that I had to look up just to see if they were maybe worth trading, for example. This didn't look too bad. I think it was about 15 quid there, down from 85, but of course, as it's a sports title, the new NBA 2K25 is either already out or very close and very much on the way. So what's the plan for game stores going forward? Well, in my opinion, they probably will get rid of physical or have just a very few select amount of games on offer, maybe even sealed on the shop floor, which sounds a little bit stupid, but you never know. So with that being said, I am sad about it, obviously. I do find it a little bit ironic, though, because when I worked for GameStation and Game took over, they kind of did the same thing to GameStation. They closed a load of stores, then they integrated them all into Game, changed the complete philosophy of what GameStation were all about, and now look how the turn's tabled. It's exactly the same, although well, not really exactly the same, but very similar situation to the point where Game are now no longer recognisable. There are plenty of ways, of course, that Game could turn it around, but it's not Game that need to turn it around. It's the Fraser Group that need to allow Game to turn it around. Do you see what I mean? Fraser Group are deliberately downsizing this company to the point where it's just going to be a board game and lighting emporium with like gaming lamps and all those, what are those like nano leaf things that people have on their wall? And if you want to buy a game, you're going to have to go online, and if you want it physical, you're going to have to order it to the store to pick it up. It's a bit stupid, but unfortunately that's the way it looks like it's going, although they have said that this is a load of nonsense, so again, take it with a pinch of salt. Very sad to see, but what isn't sad to see, transition. I'm hoping to get into the running influencer business very, very soon, so if you want to check out my socials where I'll be posting those kind of things, links down below, including my Strava, which I've never shared before, and I have made a sale. So last week before, sometime in the very recent past, I picked up a DS game. It was Mario 64, however, it was just the case in the manual because inside was New Super Mario Brothers. So I've sold the case. I actually can't remember how much it sold for. I'm fully expecting this to come back as a return. I will add the cash to the overall that we have at the moment, because at the moment it has sold and I haven't heard anything. However, I'm fully expecting the person to receive this and go, hey, there's no game in here, because people not very bright when it comes to that kind of thing. The amount of times I sold that Simpsons Hit and Run case that I picked up many moons ago, and people were like, oh, didn't realise it didn't come with a game. I put it in the title, I put it in the description, it's in the pictures that there's no game there. and yet people still buy it thinking, oh, it comes with the game. It's crazy. So that being said, the cash balance in the series is looking pretty nice. So there's only one thing for it. Let's go onto Vinted and buy something that we can potentially trade into CEX. I've set a very lofty target of 17 likes for this video. I don't know why I do it to myself. I'm just going to be disappointed. There's no way you can hit that. What you can hit though is the subscribe button, because that's down next to the like button, and you might as well while you're there. Although I'm not sure I want to trade these into CEX, but at the same time, I kind of do. It's a bit of a weird one. So, parcel arrives. Now, again, can't remember for the life of me how much I paid for these. This week has been a bit of a nightmare. As you can probably tell, I'm not particularly very well. My throat, my chest, absolutely killing me. So, with that being said, how much I paid for these will be on screen in a second. So there's 2 games in here, both of which are PlayStation 4, because they still have value and people don't tend to value them because the PlayStation 5 is out. It's a great time if you are looking to build up some CEX credit on the cheap. Now, both of these games I don't have in the collection. Both of these games I would be more than happy to play. In fact, one of them I want, but not necessarily on this platform, and we'll get to that one in just a second. So this is The Last of Us Remastered. Now, of course, this is out on PS5 as well. It's the remaster. Is that what it's called? I don't know. Anyway, so I don't know whether I want to keep this. I have played it, but on the PS3, so it's been a very long time. However, I wouldn't mind. We'll come back to that in a second, because the next game is Little Nightmares. Now, this is a game I've wanted for quite a long time, and I think I was Ori and the Blind Forest, actually, not Little Nightmares. I thought I went to a CEX, wanted it on the Switch, and they had like a reprinted cover version. But my point is, I want Little Nightmares, but I want it on the Switch. I don't actually see me sitting down and playing it on the PS4, which I know sounds stupid, because where does it matter where you're going to play it? But Little Nightmares is a game that I feel like I would enjoy more in handheld mode, in the dark, as opposed to sat in my living room on the TV. You know, it's just, I don't know, it's all about the atmosphere, the environment that you're in. It does make a huge difference when you're playing video games. You can play the exact same game with the lights on, sunny outside, big TV in front of you, no headphones, and it's a pleasant experience. You can turn all the lights off, close the curtains, put headphones on, and play the exact same game, and all of a sudden that game is just elevated 10 levels, and it is so much more immersive. And it's the exact same situation again when it comes to handheld. It's a different experience playing Arcade Paradise, for example, handheld compared to when I docked the Switch and had it on the big screen. I much prefer to play it handheld. So my point is, I don't think I'm going to keep these. I think I'm going to trade them in. I want to play The Last of Us again, but if I'm going to play it, I want to play the most up-to-date definitive version, which is the PS5 version. And Little Nightmares I want on the Switch eventually, and I will eventually get round to building a Switch collection. I'm thinking maybe end of the year is when I'm going to start doing that again. I want another good solid few months of running at the 360 and picking up 360 games. But the main reason I want to is because the Switch 2 should theoretically be backwards compatible. My biggest complaint with the Switch, and third-party titles specifically, is that they just don't run well on the Switch. I haven't actually seen any reviews of it, but Red Dead Redemption came out on the Switch not that long ago. I imagine it runs like absolute garbage, because the little Switch can't handle it, which makes perfect sense. It's like 27 years old at this point. It's very old. It wasn't even powerful when it came out, so the fact that it can even run Red Dead is amazing in itself. However, the Switch 2 should be closer to what a PS4 is capable of, therefore it should be able to run games like that without any frame dip whatsoever, and that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. Putting backwards compatible games from Switch 1 into Switch 2 and playing them properly. Surviving the Aftermath was literally unplayable on the Switch because it was going at about 3 frames a second. So with these two now, that's about £16 in credit. And of course I still have Lego Movie 2 to chuck in as well, which is about a £4 trade, so that is around 20 quid altogether in store credit, which is beautiful because that is exactly how much I spent when I took a trip to Cardiff. And I say beautiful, I actually took this trip before any of that happened, so I didn't actually go here with like a £20 budget or anything. I went here looking for, you've guessed it, 360 games, more specifically promo copies. However, if I can't find them, that's fine these days. I'm willing to look for other things. I noticed that 2 of the most expensive games they had on display were in fact reprinted covers, which is always a shame. There is a Cars game down there that I didn't pick up, and I wish I had done because I don't know the price of it. So a lot of people keep commenting, oh, you're skipping promo copies. They're bundle copies, and if it says bundle copy on it, I'm not interested. If it says promotional copy not for resale, then I'm interested. So With that being said, as I didn't spot any promotional copies immediately, I started looking at other games, and I was more than happy to drop as much money as much credit, I should say, as I could here, so long as I found things worth picking up. I am ready to let the credit fly now, if you will. If I find something that I don't have in the collection that I want to play, that I've wanted in the collection for a while, that I don't see that often in CEX, I am ready and willing and able to buy it. Now, this was a game I wish I'd looked up. I was going to look it up until I noticed that it was a reprinted cover. I've never seen this before. I don't know if it's rare or just trash and they only made 3 copies and this is one of them. So, it doesn't have a cover. Otherwise, I probably would have bought it because I don't think I've ever seen that game before in my life. Let me know if you've played Motorcycle Club and whether it is as bad as I think it probably is. Now, with that being said, let's move on. A couple of Red Deads, as I mentioned previously. I need to remember which Lord of the Rings game I own. I couldn't remember on the spot whether I had Middle-earth 2 or War in the North. I knew I had one of them, and for some reason my brain wouldn't work. I might need to start writing these things down. Otherwise, probably would have bought Middle-earth. Another reprinted cover. This store is rife with it. Like I said, this is the Cardiff store. This is the main city centre store. It's not particularly very big for a city centre. You'd imagine it would be maybe that little bit bigger. But they do have an awful lot of reprinted covers, unfortunately. Now, did I find anything? Yes, I did. In fact, I found it as soon as I walked in. It was just there. It stood out to me. It called to me, and I had to buy it. And it is indeed a promo copy, and there it is. It sang to me. You need to buy me, sir. This is Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2. Have I played this game? Absolutely not. However, I do know a little bit about it because I've looked at it once or twice before on eBay and Vinted when it popped up there, but they were sealed. This game is around a £50 to £70 game sealed in sort of promo copy state. And here it is. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't come with a manual, but the disc is full-on promo copy disc, which is kind of cool, I guess. Like I said, and have said in previous videos, I'm not that bothered if the discs have like promo copy written on them or whether it's just a normal disc without anything written on it, because I have a few of those as well. What I'm concerned with is what the case looks like and what the spine looks like. The spine is greyed out. The front of it is greyed out and has that promotional copy not for resale on it, not bundle copy or any other copy thing that they put on them. Has to be promotional. 20 quid on that is, I think, the most I've spent on an Xbox 360 game, correct me if I'm wrong. The first game is 10 quid, and it does have its own promo copy, which again, I don't see. In fact, I've never seen, although I know it exists. But if I do find it, am I going to buy it non-promotional or what? I don't really know what I'm going to do yet. Like I said before, I'm kind of happy to double up on games if I really like them. I only played the first Castlevania briefly, and I don't remember an awful lot about it, to be fair, so I do want to pick it up in some capacity. So if I find it again in a CEX store, in a boot sale or Vinted or whatever, and it's cheap enough, I will pick it up regardless of whether it's promo or not. Side note, I just noticed that there is another promotional copy here that I completely missed, although having said that, I don't think I would have bought it had I noticed it. It is Just Dance, or Dance Central rather, in the bottom right hand corner here as I'm looking at Castlevania 2. Had I noticed it, would I have bought it? Probably not, to be fair. I mean, if I can get these games for like 50 pence or a pound, maybe, but I don't really see the point in having games on the shelf that I never intend on playing. And Dance Central is a game that I absolutely would never play, so why would I want it? I'm not a completionist. I don't want to collect them all. I just want to collect the ones I want to play. Now, I did want to go to my local CEX, but as you may or may not be able to tell, I don't really feel great at the moment. Don't look at my Strava. I promise I'm not still running. So I haven't really had the chance to get out. I wanted to yesterday, just didn't really feel like it, and then ran 8 miles. That means in the next episode we're going to go straight to CEX and we're going to potentially spend some more credit, because now of course I'm on the lookout for the first Castlevania. So I think this episode might be a little bit shorter than usual, and I do apologise for that. There's not really as much going on. No boot sales, for example. If you want to check out that game video I mentioned earlier, you can click here, and until the next time, goodbye.